spotted bass. So what I've done here is I'm seeing a ton of fish on the hard spot. They really wouldn't bite my jig or my crankbait, so I put in this little small swim bait. And when it's real tough like this, you can crawl that little swim bait through there and generate a bite or two sometimes. So we're gonna get back in there and see if we can get some fired up. So there's nothing that says hard spot more than just seeing that rod tip struggle and grind and exhibit that rough bottom. You know, that jig is down there grinding on that hard spot and those stumps, and you can tell by my rod tip that it's just rough down there and it feels good. So there's no better way to find a hard spot than actually feel it with your rod and your jig. So I started on this hard spot, kind of down current, throwing up, and I wasn't getting bit. I know there's fish here, I'm seeing them on active target. And so I kind of repositioned my boat and I'm kind of throwing at them at a different angle now. And sometimes that's the name of the game, especially when you're fishing offshore or fishing hard spots like this. Sometimes you got to get it just the right angle to kind of get one to bite. And what's cool is a lot of times once you get that first bite, I mean, it's game on, you know, so. But right now we're throwing this crankbait, and again, a crankbait and a jig is kind of my 1-2 punch on these hard spots, but sometimes angles are the key. So what I've done here is I started out fishing this hard spot kind of at a different angle. I was throwing up current kind of. I wasn't getting bit. I know fish are here because I can see them on active target. So what I did is I just kind of moved up the ledge a little ways, and I'm kind of just throwing at them at a different angle. Just seeing if I can trigger one to bite. A lot of times your casting angle can really make a difference when you're fishing hard spots or any kind of offshore type setup, you know. So don't be afraid to play around with your angles. So we're on our hard spot, and you know, I tried my 1-2 punch, my jig and crankbait, and there's a ton of fish here. I had some follow it. I really couldn't get any takers on that, but I'm seeing a lot of fish on forward face and active target. And so another little trick that I like to use on these hard spots when they're just not biting the fun stuff is I'll get a real small little swim bait head. It's a 3/16 Hayabusa FPP straight, and I'll just put a small little Kitech swim bait on there. This is a 3.3, and this is something when you just are trying to just trigger the school, just trying to get something going. This is a technique I use at Guntersville when I won there this year, and you know, you just got to really crawl it really slow and just get it to where the fish are. But you can catch a 5-pounder on this thing. I mean, it's, you know, it's a finessey small type thing, but you can catch big ones on it. And so right now I'm just crawling this small swim bait through where these fish are, just trying to trigger one of them to bite.